Impact is renaming themselves to
TNA. That was their original name. And you know what TNA stood for, right?
Total Non-Stop Action.
Yep.
I nearly said
But
wrestling.
really, it really stood for tits and ass. Is that's what it stood for. Because if you watch one of the early shows of TNA, they had these stripper girls in these cages, and they were scantily clad. Let me say that, and they were dancing, and that lasted about a month before, I guess, before the internet shamed them enough to maybe they kept TNA, but I think they took the the tits and the ass out of it. So,
I have a
but that's what
theory.
it was. That was okay. Give me the theory.
Well, when they started out, they had two strippers, and then after like a couple of months, they had
Yeah,
one stripper.
one
So I
stripper.
think it was budget cuts.
Yeah, it was budget cuts, and they used to do that show at the fairgrounds in Nashville, Tennessee, and the fairgrounds. I mean, it's just a building and just four walls around it and a concrete floor, and they'd have to hang a light right in the middle and pull some bleachers out, and they'd build a little bit of a set with a little ramp. The ramp was like 1/3 or 1/10 of what Raw's ramp is, and that's what they used for the TV set. So, but they used to bitch and moan about TNA. Oh, it makes us look bad. And I'm thinking, well, hell, I didn't name it. I mean, don't look at me. I mean, that was like before I got there. But I didn't see nothing that wrong with it, really. But anyway, after all these years of being Impact, and I think they dropped TNA in 2017, I think. That's when they dropped the TNA name and went to Impact because Impact was the name of the show.
Mm-hmm.
It was TNA Impact. And I remember one day we was sitting around the table and said, what should we call the show? And somebody said something, I remember saying Impact for no apparent reason, really. And they said, Impact. Oh, that sounds good. And they named it Impact. And it stayed Impact to recently to, I think it's going to change in next year, early next year in January.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go back to TNA. And I'm not sure over who owns Impact now, who owns TNA. The Carters.
No. It's
I mean,
it's Anthem still.
Anthem.
Yeah.
And okay. So is that it? Just Anthem?
Yeah, no, it's still Anthem. They bought it in 2017. We can always go through the whole Anthem, Billy Corgan, Dixie Carter debacle another time when, quite frankly, I've read more into it because it's so convoluted that I still don't understand it. But
well, Billy Corgan put a lot of money in it at one time, like $1.5 million. I don't know what he put, but he didn't sign anything when he put the $1.5 million down, did he?
What did he get out of it? Nothing.
He must have more money than what I thought he did. But anyway, when would he be interested in doing?
Investing in a podcast by any chance?
Yeah, another one. So, but yeah, that TNA story, I need to really kind of delve into that and kind of figure out what happened. Or I could call my old buddy Jeff up and see what he's got to say. And he'd probably have nothing to say about it because Jeff adheres to my policy: stay in your lane. If you're not in his lane, he don't have nothing to do with it.
Well, he definitely had something to do with it, I think, with the global force thing. That was very confusing. With TNA, right? So the original problem with TNA, as you rightly said at the beginning, was tits and ass.
Mhm.
So they're going back to TNA. So isn't that going to be an issue for certain advertisers who are going to look at that and think it's maybe more low rent?
What advertisers?
Well, whatever TV show they're on or
I
TV
doubt
channel
it.
they're on. No?
I doubt it. I don't think so. Things are different. That's 20 years ago. I think they started up in 2001, 2. That's when they started.
Mhm.
And I was at their first show. And I was in Puerto Rico, and Jeff he came down there, and we went to a stadium show. We had like 17,000 people there. And he looked at me and he says, "How are you doing this?" I said, "Doing what?" He said, "That crowd out there, that house. How'd you do this?" And you know what I told him?
No?
Lucky, I guess. But that's why I like Puerto Rico so much, because it is such an easy place to really book. Because there's some great fans in Puerto Rico. Now, it used to be they believed it so much they wanted to kill you. Now they don't, but they do enjoy good wrestling and good stories. So I applaud them for that.
Very quickly, speaking on the matter, President of Impact Wrestling, Scott D'Amore, said, "As much as we're going to look at moving forward and we want to look at how we tackle things differently and doing things in a new way, part of any great company is looking back at your history and celebrating your successes. We're going to sprinkle a lot of that in. I know the fans have been waiting for a new set, and some have been waiting very patiently. Some have been waiting a little less patiently. It all comes from a point of passion. We're hard at work designing a new look and a new feel for TNA to both honour some of our history, but also to be forward-thinking and forward-moving." So it's part of a wider revamp. And you talk about the sets as well, I suppose, but, I mean, everyone's, in the 6-7 years or whatever that TNA became Impact, everyone still called it TNA.
Yeah. I mean, once you're kind of ingrained with those 3 letters, I mean, wrestling has 3 letters, this period. It's WWE, AEW, TNA, MWF, this, that, and the other, or whatever. It's just, it's 2 it's 2 consonants and a vowel. So just pick any of them and make it fit somehow. But yeah, the TNA name stayed with them. And of course, I never really saw anything wrong with it. Really, it's just it is what it is. So, but some of them talk about, well, it gives the wrong impression of what TNA is, and I don't know. I think it was also along about that same time WWE was doing that very risque programming, and it may have had something to do with it too.